Hi wrestling fans, and welcome to Straight Shooting. Now this program used to be hosted by Scott Island, the late great Scott Island, and we're bringing it back. And I am Mad Matt Carter, and my very first guest, boy, this is a hard guy to land, Head Commissioner of the AIWF, Rick Deezel.
Well, I told you a long time ago, Matt, if I ever done this, I wanted to do it naked. Yeah. But you got me. You done it in February. Yeah. And nobody will be naked in February.
Yeah, I mean.
Not even me. I tried.
No.
I tried it. It did not work.
Yeah. But anyway, good to have you here, Rick. It's like old, you know, we've rebirthed the Ringside Wrestling Show from the old Cable 6 days, and just to look at that.
And you're doing great at that, by the way.
Really? You think so?
Yeah, here recently I've started coming on. I don't come on and talk, but I come on and listen, you know. And you're doing good. My biggest issue is not you. I think there's more wrestlers out there from all the AIWF affiliates should be taking advantage of this show. I mean, why in the world, in the age of the internet, that guys don't know how to promote themselves anymore?
Yeah.
I mean, they should be taking these opportunities. They should be flooding your inbox with requests to be on that show.
It might be because back when I started and you started, if you were going to have a TV presence, you had to go to a TV studio and there was a lot of work involved with it. But I don't remember in the days we were on Cable 6 or Channel 57 in Martinsville, or even down here on the old MATV. Is that still a thing, by the way? No. MATV, like the Thursday night show down here was a little tough to get guests sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, but we can usually wrangle somebody with a couple of weeks' notice. The Saturday programs, when you first started coming to Martinsville, you had people beating the doors down trying to get on that.
Yeah, that's why I don't see why these guys don't do it now, because up there we had a cable specific audience.
Yeah.
But you have the potential to be worldwide. I mean, I know it's still growing. There may be some guys be like, oh, they don't get enough views now for me to go on there. But, you know, maybe, moron, if you went on there, the people that know you would watch it.
Yeah.
And they'd give a few more views, and they'd be like, oh, well, I like it. Maybe we'll watch it next week. And then that next week's moron could come on and say, hey, oh, you know, and that's how you grow an audience. And I'll be honest with you, I don't blame the wrestlers. I blame the trainers.
Yeah.
I blame trainers. They don't teach them these things anymore. But people nowadays teach flips. It's like ballet class or gymnastics. They teach them flips and high spots and get yours in and get your dollar and go to the house. They don't teach them how to tell stories. And if it pisses any of y'all off out there, I've been doing this 30 years, so I have the right. And there's probably a lot more that would agree with me. But anyway, they don't teach them they don't teach them in here. Wahoo McDaniel taught me in here more than he taught me anything. Wahoo, Ricky Morton, Ivan Koloff, Buddy Landell, those guys, they didn't teach me here. They taught me here. And they don't do that no more. Yeah. Trainers don't do that. They're so busy. If you watch Facebook and these guys showing these clips, what do they show?
Jumping over the top rope.
Yeah, I've done a backflip. Look at me training to do my backflip.
Yeah.
But how many of them you actually see, watch me train to reach into the third row and take that person and put them right here in the palm of my hand and keep their attention for 15 minutes. But also, a lot of wrestlers nowadays, their attention span is not 15 minutes, so how can they keep somebody in here with them?
Yeah.
You have to take that crowd and put them in here with you.
Yeah.
Or you come out of here and go in here with them. That's what you learn. That's what I learned in this business.
Yeah.
And that's why to this day, I still have wrestlers look at me going, oh my God, you're Rick Deezel. I ain't been in a freaking ring, what, 5-6 years or longer?
Last time I remember you jumped in at the end of a match and deal with the Steels. That's been several years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, now I run around making change at the concession stand now. So, I mean, you know what I'm saying? But still, I have fans go to me and ask me for my autograph.
Yeah.
They get an autograph from the change guy before they get autographs from people in the ring.
Yeah.
That's because I got in here years ago and I'm still there now.
Yeah. Yeah, it does say something about the way the modern training is. You're right. You see these clips on the internet of them flipping over, and maybe it's because of the internet. Short attention spans. You know, I got a...
oh, yeah, you put an hour video on YouTube, and your flashlight's on.
Yeah, I was going to show this. I have a a lady that I work for at my corporate job who calls these pocket witches. And I think that is exactly right. It's a little computer and a TV set that you can carry in your pocket, and if you don't use it too much, will last all day. And what are you used to doing?
You want me to give you a good example? And like you said, you put an hour video on YouTube, and it'll get 5 minutes of viewing.
Yeah.
You put a 5-minute viewing on there, and you get 1 million views.
I know.
But you know, and let me give you a good example of this. AEW Dark. I know. I don't understand people's mindsets when they go on there. But AEW Dark is an hour-long program. And I watched it. First time I ever watched it, at the 20-minute mark, that's on the 5th match. Yeah. And they had promos. 20-minute mark, that's on the 5th match. Why? Because they know that the attention span of the people watching that is only going to be, because they have control. People have that mouse. They have control. They can jump forward if they want to. If they don't like what they're seeing. They can't do that on TBS or USA or the Peacock's network.
Yeah.
They can't do that there because the network controls the time.
Right.
But on AEW Dark, boom, 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 I like this, I'm going forward. That's why their matches are from anywhere from, I seen one that was like 35 seconds. And I think the longest one I seen in that whole thing was maybe 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that, because they have to get everything in as quick as they can, because the internet attention span is about this long. And that's funny that I'm saying that, considering me and you can sit here and talk for an hour. But we will keep their attention.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what the hell I'm going to say next.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so I agree with you 100% on an AEW Dark, and I got to tell you,
I don't see why people brag about going on unless they just like I mean, I get it, it's a buck.
Yeah.
And that's what people learn. They learn nowadays dollar.
Well,
over, you know.
Maybe some of the indie guys, like when they came to Charlotte, there was a lot of independent people that came on that show and wrestled against their stars. It's a good opportunity for go out there in front of a big crowd for a few minutes, you know,
or a few seconds.
You know. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of, because
you get a paycheck and you can get to wrestling for the world for a minute and a half.
Yeah, it's funny, you know, and I sat through that thing in Charlotte, and don't get me wrong, they had a good match on there. Sammy Guevara and Dustin Rhodes was spectacular. Crowd was into it. Place was about to come unglued. But the rest of the time, polite applause, because that's Charlotte. And you know, wrestling fans, they want to see wrestling so bad. We will turn up 8,000 people that night. Turn up, hoping to God we're going to get a good show. And when we're let down, you know.
Okay, wait till they come back so we can buy more tickets.
I get it. I can't, but yeah, well, this one right here ain't going back until they do something about that. Because that was rough, man.
And the AEW Dark I watched had Keikoa, Flying Hawaii.
Oh, yeah.
That son of a gun is one of the top indie talents out there.
Yeah.
You know what they done with him?
Jobbed him out.
Slapped him around a few times, threw him over the top rope, and then beat his partner. In a 6-man match in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
They did not even think about utilizing the talent they had in that ring. Mm-hmm. But I mean, hey, it's their show. They do what they want to with it, and they draw big crowds. But I mean, you know, hey, if I had $1 million, I'd tell you one thing: I'd draw some big crowds too.
And maybe what it is with AEW, and I was telling Jakey this the other day. Maybe Tony Khan needs to quit trying to do everything on his own, and he's got access. Arn Anderson's there.
He's got some of the best minds in the business there, and he's too worried about what's in his head, not theirs.
Exactly, and have somebody else, you know, have Arn Anderson do the matchmaking and write the TV and stuff. You could get Kevin Sullivan on the phone. You might not be able to get him off that island in the Pacific Ocean, but he can call in, he can Zoom, you know,
well,
shoot interviews.
I'm afraid Tony Khan's going to get this syndrome that every money mark gets.
What's that?
I've got the money, I run the show, I want to be a star too.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, you know what I'm saying? But that's the thing. And another thing, I've always said, wrestlers are like birds or monkeys.
Monkeys. Okay.
Yeah. They're attracted to shiny things, shiny objects. You put a big stage, bunch of lights, they'll flock to you.
Yeah.
No matter if your show's good or not, they'll flock to you. You throw a few bucks at them, they'll flock to you.
Yeah.
And they'll tell everybody that you're the best thing. That's why every money mark that I see it, and yeah, I still call them that because I'm old school. You know, I could call them car lot promoters. But anyway, There's a billion of them out there too.
Oh, I know. I live in Charlotte.
Oh yeah. Throw a little bit of money out there, and they'll come.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And everybody will come. It ain't that you're a great promoter. It ain't you're a great person in this business. It ain't that you know this business. It's that you got money, and they will kiss your split till the day you're broke.
Yeah.
And then they'll walk away like you never existed. But as long as you can keep throwing money at it and keep building it up, they'll keep coming.
You think that's what's going to happen to Tony Khan? Eventually, Mom and Dad will cut him off, and then.
No, I think the network will cut him off.
You think TBS will?
I think eventually they'll get tired of it. It'll be just like WCW. Somebody will come in there that says, "I don't like wrestling," and I've made it to the point that I can shut it down.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, TBS has done well without wrestling for so many years.
Yeah.
You know, I was glad to see it for nostalgic purposes to see it back on there, but I don't watch it. I'll turn.
I haven't watched wrestling on TV in 3 years.
It's pretty rough right now. It's even WWE. I think I was telling you this the other day. If you go to a live event, say on a Saturday night, non-televised event, right? Everything that happens between those ropes, best in the world. The top wrestlers in the world are in WWE.
Yeah,
no doubt about it.
They go forward. Yeah, exactly. They're like shiny objects and big dollars.
And what goes on in that ring is fantastic. Everything else around it is not good. It's like they used to say about Vince. He likes to sizzle. He likes to sizzle more than the steak. Well, now their sizzle is just all messed up. The steak is fine.
Well, a lot of it's got to do with the culture nowadays too. I mean, there's only so many things you can do. You couldn't do the attitude there now.
No,
you'd have an empty arena.
Not with
people get their feelings hurt.
Yeah.
That affected AIWF.
Oh yeah.
Which I'm thinking we've got away from. Talking about.
Yeah, we have.
And it has. It affects everybody, and it's not so much. It's also the promoters.
How's that?
Well, they've come up and they've got this new attitude of, I don't want to insult or hurt somebody's feelings. I don't want to get canceled.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because somebody go on Twitter and make your life.
Right. Yeah, and the internet's been the greatest thing ever in the history for wrestling, but it's also been the worst.
Because it's made everything no seasoning.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they threw a guy out of Greensboro for having a sign that said something about, the Nyla Rose thing. Yeah.
You know what's funny though?
Yeah.
And you can piss off me if this you want to, but depending on Nyla Rose's age, and depending on the age of the guy, and depending on the situation, and the fact that it's in Greensboro, it could have been true. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's not that it's physically impossible to happen.
Yeah. I know.
But anyway.
But they threw him out.
I know they threw him out. That's the culture that we have to deal with nowadays. We couldn't have run 90s AIWF. We cannot. Well, we can barely get away with it because the 90s AIWF, we still have fans from the 90s who are bringing their kids, and they tell their kids, this is what I used to watch, and the kids are like, oh yeah, let's go see that.
Yeah.
So the fact that we've lasted so long has give us the opportunity to do a little more of the older stuff that we used to do.
Yeah, and you know, and admittedly with time, you know, you think about it, like in the early 2000s, we kind of got away from the hardcore stuff and started going back to straight wrestling. But then we were here for the New Year's Day show, and they had that freaking bloodbath at the end of that with all the thumbtacks and everything, which I do not like that hardcore stuff anymore. The older I get, the less I like it. I don't want to see anybody get hurt.
Right.
You know, when I see some of the guys that wrestled for us back in the 90s,
the maternal instincts are kicking in.
Yeah, and I still don't have any kids. I don't even have a dog. You know, and I see some of the older guys that used to wrestle for us back in the 90s, you know, they come here to visit. A lot of them still hang around here. But you see them kind of like they got a hitch and they get along. There's all those bumps.
We all have it, man. We all have it.
You know,
I'll be 60 years old this year. I'll admit that. This shoot show.
Yeah. So, but anyway, like.
Hair's gone.
Well, mine's starting to thin. Hey, I found something on Amazon that can help out with that. That's expensive, but
I mean, the hair, the mullet's gone. Nobody wants to see an old man in a white mullet. Come on, that'd be Ricky Morton.
You got to be Ricky Morton to pull that off.
I do. All Ricky Morton can pull off a white mullet.
I'm gonna tell you what, man. You talk about old school crowds and stuff. When we were down in Spartanburg a couple of weeks ago, saw Rock and Roll against FTR. Here's two guys pushing 70. I guess probably the best tag team in the world right now. Had the crowd in the palm of their hand.
Exactly. Like and what did I say a while ago? Who taught me in here?
Yeah,
Ricky Morton. Who was in that match? Ricky Morton. There's your connection.
Yeah, and I remember telling my wife, you know, it's like, I don't think it'll go a long time, but it's the main event, so they can't really get in there and do 3 minutes and get out. You know, it's going to have to go.
How long did they go?
Probably about 10, 12 minutes.
That's good.
It was a good match.
Well, it was a tag match. Robert was with it, so they could go in and out and rest.
Yes.
And FTR, FTD, whatever.
FTR.
FTR, yeah, they've been around a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I didn't even know Dax was the former Casey McKnight until just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, he used to work.
He changed his look.
He used to wrestle here for us, kind of, sort of, when we was in the partnership with NCWA down in Clayton, North Carolina. Yeah.
As I was going to say, I probably rode down there and been to shows with him on it and just didn't know who the hell he was.
Yeah, exactly.
But good, small town boy, man.
Hey, this is a small business in a lot of ways. Because I remember the first time I ever met Ty Tyson, he was getting yelled at from the ring, like from Baby Doll, like she just hated him.
Yeah.
Because he was helping run her merchandise table. Now he's married to my daughter.
Yeah. It's funny how things work out.
I know, man. But I don't blame him. I'd have left that situation too. That's a mean woman.
Baby Doll?
Baby Doll, yeah.
I did not know.
No, her personality does not fit her name.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, it does to the fans.
Yeah.
When it matters.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But
just not pleasant individuals. Some people aren't. So let's go back in time a little bit.
Okay.
What was the first wrestling you remember seeing? I guess at probably Crockett Promotions.
NWA, Crockett. I used to watch it with my grandpa when I was little, and you know, up until he died. And the doctor actually told him that's his back when wrestling was good, man. You know, he
what year abouts are we talking about?
Mid-70s, late 70s.
Okay, all right.
And I'd watch it with him on Saturdays till the doctor told him he kind of had to quit because it was the heart.
He was getting too fired up.
Oh, that son of a bitch and Rick Splair. I don't know why he called him Rick Splair. That's what he called him. I got to throw a pill at the damn. God, if my grandma get something at him, I just sit there. But I wasn't a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't become a wrestling fan until I got into business.
Really?
I didn't watch it. I didn't watch it regularly.
Right. And what drew you to get into the wrestling business? You know?
I was home one day. A lot of people don't know this story, but I've told it several. You know, some people, but I've not told it to the world. Good friend of mine started going to a wrestling school, well, a training place. He started getting trained by a local independent wrestler who shall remain nameless.
Okay, that's going to be my next question.
No, I won't say because he taught us the basics, but he didn't know a damn thing about what's going on in mind. He was, even back then, he was the guy who, the only time he lost the belt in his promotion was when he needed a good story to win it back.
Okay.
So I knew quick. But anyway, I was home one day and my friend come by and said, "Hey man, I'm going to train wrestling. You want to go?" No, I ain't got nothing else to do. So I went with him. While I was over there, they taught me into training.
Really?
So basically, I got into wrestling because I was home and bored. I didn't have nothing else to do that day.
Wow. Again, funny how things work out. All right, so how long did you work on the independent circuit before the AIWF came around?
Just a year or two.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I worked with that promotion that guy had, and I started venturing out a little bit, and that's when I seen the world outside the nest.
Yeah.
And started realizing that, I'd go down to the coast and I met Wahoo McDaniel and I started learning. So like I said, he taught me the basics and that was about it. Everything else I learned out in the world.
Right, where did you meet Wahoo? Worked on a show together?
Yeah, we worked on a show together and for some reason we just clicked.
Really?
I don't know why.
Yeah, because Wahoo was one of those people I've always heard that he either liked you or hated you.
Yeah, he liked me. For some reason, we just clicked. He was my first mentor in this business. And he taught me so much.
Yeah, he's got a biography supposed to be coming out any time now.
God, please, if you see that, let me know.
Oh, I check Amazon every week for it.
Like I said, he was my mentor. He was my first, and Ivan Koloff was my second. As mentors go, if I had to line them up, it'd be Wahoo, Ivan, Ricky Morton, and Buddy Landale. That was my top ones.
Yeah.
And so far, Ricky's the only one's left, but he ain't gonna die no time soon.
No. All right, so the AIWF gets going. Started up in '92, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
Nah, it's the janitor.
Anyway, and so AIWF started up in '92, where I've heard conflicting stories. I've heard some people say the first show was at Old Jones School. I've heard some people say it was at Mount Airy High School.
Yes.
And see, I even heard it was at White Plains Elementary School.
No.
No.
Mount Airy High School.
It was Mount Airy High School, which is just right up the road from Veterans Park. Yeah, right over there.
Yeah, we're filming this at Veterans Park. You can slid across the river.
Yeah.
We haven't gone far in 30 years.
No, but still here.
Geographically. Well, actually, I take that back. We have gone pretty far geographically.
Yeah, I think my lucky stars, every time I come up here to do a show, that it's not like '97 where we were at a different town every week.
Every weekend, yeah, between North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, Tennessee.
Caused a lot of marital problems for a lot of people on the roster at that time because we were working.
That's when we was doing the TV show up there, and I'd get up every morning, go do the TV show, and come back and go with the ring to the show.
Mm-hmm. And then
home 4 o'clock next morning.
Well, and one thing, yeah, I know, right? And it was
you've been there.
Yeah, and I think it was very beneficial to you. You know, when I was able to start taking at least the Martinsville TV load off.
Yes,
you didn't have to come all the way up there in the morning. Anyway, so I come along in '96 and '97. Good times. Had a lot of fun. Tell some great stories from there. Do you remember? It was the night before, it was the week before Fright Night, I think '97, when Cyclone beat Major Havoc. I think it was the night. But we had booked a show in Graham, North Carolina. And
that's when the lights went out?
The lights went out.
Was that Jimmy Snuka or Tommy Rich?
Neither one. We didn't have any.
Tommy Rich was there when the lights went out.
Well, I remember this. Something must have happened. The building must have not put out the posters or something like that because we get close to bell time, and there's a mom, a dad, and their kid in the front row, and that's the only people that showed up.
That was one of the first times we ever went to Graham.
Yeah, I never wanted to go back after that. But what was cool about that was, you know, a lot of people always brag about it. Oh, our show sold out. By God, I'll tell you about the ones that went the opposite way. I'm not going to.
We ain't ashamed.
No, and what we did was I walked out to them and I was like, look, we need to have this show for TV and everything.
Was Fatback in the crowd? No, they wasn't that time. They used to come down there.
No, they weren't. Well, that's some inside baseball.
I know, Fatback.
But anyway, so I went down there and I was like, we need to shoot this for TV. We're going to turn the lights down, you know, to kind of black everything out. And the way we're going to shoot it, you guys are going to be here. Can y'all just make as much noise as humanly possible tonight? Because, you know, it's the empty room, but the acoustics in it were good. And we got away with showing that footage on TV, and you could not tell. It sounded like there was a room full of people in there. And I've always been so proud of that. No, we could have easily just been like, take down the ring, let's go.
I will tell you this, and I'm sorry.
What?
But Kevin Phoenix, you know, he's VP over the network now on Roku. He has got his hands on the Hobo Show.
He told me. Yeah.
Did he tell you? Okay, now I was going, yeah, it's going to be on the network. Back harder, the bowl cut and all. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so funny story about that night was I had just turned 21 the previous Saturday.
In Hobos?
Yeah, and so that was the night that we drove down there in the rain. Here's another funny story. I know this spot on I-77 to this day. When I go by this spot, I know where it's at. It was on a Thursday night. I had to come down and do TV. You went ahead and with the rain.
Yeah.
And you guys were setting up and started the show. Me and Don Carson did TV up here. And so we're driving down to Statesville, and it's just pouring down rain. We're going down 77. It's just pouring down. I mean a gusher. You know, one of those summer, you know, just pouring. And Don is like, "Hey man, the show started at 8. You need to step on it." And I'm looking at, you know, and the TV show went from 7:30 to 8:30, so it's pushing 9 o'clock. And I'm like, okay. And I can't see, but I got Don Carson's scary ass sitting.
Can't see.
And can't see, and it's telling me to step on it. And so we're driving down through there and everything, and all of a sudden I realize I'm driving over grass. We were off the road.
Oh yeah, man.
In the middle, in the median, and I was like, well, I remember it like just being incredibly calm, because it was like, you realize that if it's your time, if I'm about to die right now, nothing's going to stop that. And so I ease the car back to the right, and it goes back up on the road nice and smooth, and we go on to Statesville, and Don Carson goes, I ain't never riding with you again. And I want to be like, well, dude, it's your fault. You're the one who told me to step on it.
There's so many stories we can tell from the last 30 years.
Yeah, so we get down there to Hobos, and during the second match, somebody must have tipped them off that I just turned 21. Because the waitress brings me a big bowl margarita like this big. And so I just start sipping on it, man, but they made it strong, man. It was just barely, it was just green, and they just put enough mixer and turned the tequila slightly green. And it was like breathing kerosene. So when that show goes up on the network, listen carefully. And as that show goes on, the last couple of matches, you'll start hearing me slur a little bit, because that was one stout drink. Oh my goodness.
Hobos ain't there no more. I
was going to ask you about
30 years, man, since AIWF started.
That crazy, 30 years. And what makes, when we first started, when I first started here, when I came down here, it was all different kinds of promotions in Mount Airy. You had the Beemans, and you had another one, I think, and there was somebody running Old Jones School like every week, and they'd have a different Doink the Clown on the show every week. If you want to see what we're something similar to
Bad Boy Buck come try to give away a car.
Go on YouTube and search Alabama Doink, and that was the kind of garbage we had to put up with.
Bad.
So we kind of, the AIWF really, we ran Elkin, we ran Povtown, we ran Bassett, Virginia,
Mount Airy, War, West Virginia, Bradshaw, West Virginia, Johnson City, Tennessee, Kingsport, Tennessee.
All over.
Yeah.
Down at Pilot Mountain, we ran high school
Eastern
there.
High School.
All over the place, and I'm glad we don't have to do that anymore. But what has made, why have the other promotions, like I saw a CWF Mid-Atlantic jacket a little while ago, what has made the AIWF be able to sustain itself for so long? Because I see these indies come and they go. A lot of them talk trash about us along the way, but we're still here. So,
deal with that for a little bit.
Yeah. But what do you think in your eyes has made the AIWF be able to stay so long, and be sustainable for so long? Because these wrestling shows, man, you got to pay the talent, you got to pay to rent the building, you got to pay a crew to put the ring up. But in a situation like this, where we've got this building with this long relationship, we don't have to move the ring around. That's one less thing, but everything else, you still got to bring the concessions out here, the T-shirts, all that stuff. It's
been slow, because me and Ginger, my wife, there was a time we've took more than once. We've took a house payment paid for a bill back in which I guess. All right, listen. Since I said that, let me just go ahead and get something out of the way. I've been.
No, you've been thinking about this.
I've been thinking about this a long time. The AIWF started in January 1992. And for 30 years, people have, there's been a kind of a secret that's not a secret. That's a secret from some people, but not a secret from others. And everybody's suspected it. Nobody really knew for sure. But Rick Deezel owns the AIWF.
Yeah.
I am the owner, have been since day one. There's no partners. There was a partner for a short time in the beginning, but then there wasn't. And I've had help. I've had, some of the best help from, Brian Danzig and Bad Brad and you and Bill Holiday and
Ace.
AC and the guys, even today. I mean, we have a crew today that's just second to none.
Yeah.
And the thing that that I feel like has helped me sustain this company. Because there was a time, like I said, we took our house payment. Didn't know if we was going to be able to make our house payments. We paid bills. We paid the bills for the show. Mm-hmm. But what has helped us so much is the fact that while we were scraping by, I had the best support system within the company that better than anybody else. Because everybody else would be like, one guy goes out there and he's just like, all right, I run it. It's me. Or it's me and my partner, and that's it. The buck stops here. Or you know what I'm saying? What we say goes. Mm-hmm. And one thing I've always done, like back in the 90s and through the early 2000s and now, is I always open the door for other people's minds and their thoughts to be in this company. Mm-hmm. And I would always listen to ideas. Mm-hmm. And I've just had such a good support system, and we made it through the rough times. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it's luck too. You know, it's like Martinsville. Martinsville blew us up. I mean, you know, and we sustained into the internet days. And we've always had such creativity from day one to now that people want to watch our shows and they want to come back. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And we listen to the fans. Which even the biggest companies in the world now don't listen to the fans, that's obvious. But we listen to the fans, and we entertained a generation that brought another generation to our shows. Mm-hmm. You know, it's 30 years, man. Mm-hmm. There's wrestlers that wrestle for me now that they wasn't even, you know, they hadn't, the drink that made them possible hadn't been mixed yet. Right. I guess the best way to say it, you know what I'm saying? I mean, they haven't even, their parents may not even, their parents was probably kids. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. The guys that wasn't even born are wrestling for us now. Yeah. And it's crazy how it's just sustained. And now the AIWF, something that started at Mount Airy High School, that the very first show we run, a very good friend of mine, her name is Julie. She come to me and she's like, you know, there's this young boy, this kid, who had leukemia. Mm-hmm. And she said, I'd like to do a fundraiser, and you're in wrestling, I think it would be good. I said, okay, so let's do a fundraiser for this kid. Mm-hmm. That's how the AIWF started. Right. As a fundraiser, one show. It's only going to be one show. And we did that fundraiser for that kid 30 years ago in January 1992, and it went over well. Mm-hmm. And we decided to do another one. And Les Parker, I think, is who helped me come up with the name of the AIWF. Yeah. And I always wanted it to be, back then we called it the American Independent Wrestling Federation, because I wanted that independent name in there, because I didn't want to, I wanted to be separate from everybody, because we've always kind of stuck to ourselves. Mm-hmm. And I've always said that promoters in this business hate AIWF and me for two reasons. One, we put on shows that they, you know, we keep putting on good shows. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know what I'm saying, consistently. Yeah. But the biggest reason people hate me is because I won't freaking go away. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I just won't goddamn go away. Yeah. And like, some bitch will never leave. Yeah. And he just keeps running shows. And people look at me and say, well, you know, how do you feel about your legacy? I think I have a pretty damn good legacy with AIWF. It's worldwide now. What, 100, close to 100 promotions use the name of the AIWF now? Yeah. And I will never see, because a lot of people would like to do what I've done. A lot of people say about, well, you remember, they used to say, well, we done this, the AIWF ain't done. You know what I'm saying? They used to be in competition with us for some reason. I don't know why, even if they was across the state. Mm-hmm. I'm not worried about my legacy ever getting taken away by other independent promotions. Because let me tell you why. One, the stuff that some of these bigger independents, you know what I'm saying, the guys that throw the money at car lot promoters. They used to call them super indies a few years ago. Yeah, super indies, whatever. The things that they've done, I've done in the 90s. Mm-hmm. I see promoters going there, oh, well, you know what? Well, we drew 400 people. Yeah, we've done that. Mm-hmm. You've seen Bassett, you've seen Big Creek High School. Yes, the first time we went to War, West Virginia, goodness sakes. That freaking gym was full. Yeah. So everything they've done, I've done 25 years ago. Yeah. 20 plus years ago. Mm-hmm. So I've already done it. Now, everybody talks about.
And that's with no names on the card.
No names. Biggest name we have is Jackie Anderson. But I mean, and I'm not worried about anybody doing. I mean, look what the AIWF has done. No, it's worldwide. It is the only affiliate program wrestling there is left. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Many's tried, all have failed. Mm-hmm. But I've also run anybody in this area that has a direct issue with me. Mm-hmm. I don't worry about any of them doing what I've done because I will be long gone from this planet before any of them ever hit 30 years. Yeah. And 99.9% of them never will.
Yeah, probably not, because it's hard to maintain one of these things. Just like we were talking about, using a mortgage payment to pay for a show.
I had to have a good marital support at that time to do this,
because wrestling sure does break up some marriages.
Yeah, it puts a strain on it. It put a strain on mine. Yeah. But, you know, and a lot of that was my own ego. Yeah. Well, but yeah, if anybody who knows, Rick Deezel is the owner of AIWF.
There you go.
It's out there.
It's out there now. So, all right, let's see where we go from here. So, you're the owner of the AIWF.
I ain't taking nothing away from Matt Classic. Matt Classic is in charge of the affiliate thing. Yeah. And he does a hell of a job.
Yeah. I don't think I'd want that job.
No, I didn't want it. That's why Matt Classic's doing it. Yeah. So I tried it. I done it for a while. Me and AC did it for a while. Mm-hmm. And then me and Tim Dolan did it for a while. And then Matt Classic come along and he's just got this thing. He had a passion for it. And me and Tim sat down one day and said, we got to let Matt go with this. Yeah. You know, because all he was doing at the time was just working with he was just like a relations, you know what I'm saying, affiliate relations and stuff. Mm-hmm. And we just gave him the reins. Yeah. And some people like him, some people don't. But I'm okay with the way Matt's done things. If I thought he was doing a bad job, I would step in, and I've seen no reason to.
Yeah. Why do wrestling promote? You know, one good thing about North Carolina, and I just absolutely love this about this state. It's part of the reason I moved here, was that if you like pro wrestling or you like auto racing, this is like the center of the universe. They're more wrestling. There's like an indie promotion in every little town in North Carolina. Why indie promoters hate each other so much?
It's egos, man. It's all egos. Yeah. And they don't, but it's all competition. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Well, it's like how you see the CEO of Walmart and the CEO of Target sit down and have lunch together.
That's true. Okay.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, and even on a small scale, plus the fact that this business breeds egos so bad. Yeah, it's show. It is. It's show business.
Yeah. I mean, it's just Hollywood on a smaller scale. And I've been to the real one, so I know. But it's funny, like, but. You take, I don't mean to name drop, but I think at Ring Wars Carolina, they run Lumberton, right?
They're an AIWF affiliate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're over there doing their thing. There's the, what's the one in Greensboro? Kozo's.
Firestar.
They're over there doing their thing.
We use a lot of Kozo's talent. He's a good technical trainer. I mean, he's a good wrestling trainer.
Oh, yeah. He really is. He really is. And they seem to everybody seems to be doing their own thing. But you were talking about car lot promoters, money mark promoters, stuff like that. The first thing that comes to mind when I hear that is PWX. And
I don't know a lot about them. I've just seen they paid out a lot of money to have their posters made.
Well, I mean, they put on a decent. I mean, they have good talent on their shows, but
they have pretty lights and a big checkbook.
The crowd is obnoxious at that show, though. I mean, they are like the worst of the worst wrestling fans. They are. You remember how everybody used to say ECW had a bunch of smart marks in the crowd? Well, just imagine that magnified by about 50 times. It's rough. I mean, they cheer, they boo the baby faces, cheer the heels. It's just.
Well, it's a whole different culture now.
Yeah, and I don't understand that. That's one of the car lot promoters, but what really ticks me off is when they make this comment, and it's not just PWX. I don't want to single them out. I've heard other super indie type promoters make this comment.
They're all over.
We do it.
They're everywhere. They're all over the state. I'm not singling nobody out myself. They're everywhere because that is. money marks come from all different things, but it's just like the last few years.
Yeah.
In all over the place, you could always tell.
Well, when they make a comment,
you know what I'm saying? If they got a car lot behind.
They'll run a show or whatever, and they'll have the full building of 50 or 100 people or whatever, and it's lit well, and they take a picture of it, and they make the comment, "We do this right."
Yeah,
like
they don't do it right. They just put the money into it.
Yeah,
the more money you put into a show does not mean they don't make it right. They don't make your show right.
It's financially successful if you end up in the black. To me, if you can make the show make money and draw money. Guys that own these car lots understand that
they understand business. They know how to make money.
If you're putting more into the show than you're getting out of it, I mean, what's the point? How do you sustain that for a long period of time? I mean, I know
tax write-off. I feel like I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't know their business, but I've been told tax write-off makes sense.
They use it as a promotional advertisement or whatever.
Okay. I don't know. I guess it's all had some in the books.
Yeah. Well, I learned a lot about that from Charles Rourke.
Well, keep in mind, we all learned a lot of stuff about how things work and stuff like that from Charles Rourke.
I know. Who still wants to interview you, by the way?
I know.
Mark
He's going to be mad at you.
Huh?
He's going to be mad at you.
Well, I hadn't called into his show in a few weeks, so I need to do that. But
And I'm not throwing off. Don't get me wrong. And I know everybody's going to be running back to these guys and going, "Oh, Rick Deezel shit all over you and not interview." No, I'm not.
No.
Wrestling is. I mean, that's their niche.
Yeah.
They've got the money to do that.
Yeah.
But I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If the worst promoter in the state had $20,000 to run a show with, or $10,000 or $5,000 to run a show with, he'd pack a building.
Because they can load it up with names.
Exactly.
Well, what kind of quality are you getting?
Well, you're going to get good quality. Don't get me wrong, because you're paying for that good quality.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is don't look and act like what you're doing is better than anybody else, because it's not.
Yeah.
You just got the money behind you to say that.
Yeah.
If the worst promoter in the state had $5,000, he could book that same show. Mm-hmm. And then he could stand there and go, "Well, I done it right."
Yeah. Just drives me crazy. Because you got groups like the name is Shockwave down in New Bern. Fantastic show. Does a lot with little. You got the Ring Wars Carolina. You got so many of these little promotions around here, and it really just sticks in my craw when somebody says, "Oh, we do it right," like everybody else is doing it wrong. I mean, what? That ego, it just drives me.
Well, my thing on that is, if I wasn't doing something right, I don't think I'd be sitting here doing this interview after 30 years.
No, exactly. You've been around for.
But that's also why a lot of people leave me alone. I feel like I get the respect of the old dude who's been around a long time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and kudos. Hey, look, none of these other promotions, and you can. We're not trying to.
No, we're not going off on anybody. No,
not at all. But I will say this. One thing I do like about the promoters in North Carolina, and this includes the big super indie types, they don't run on top of each other.
No, they don't. They do have respect for
They treat it like a territory system.
When you get in these bigger cities, these bigger towns, you kind of do step on people's toes, but it's not intentional.
Yeah.
Because there's all around you. And unless you're going to get right in the center of town and run one building and just stay there, kind of like what we've done here, you're going to step on people's toes.
Yeah.
And it's not intentional. They're just trying to do their thing.
Yeah, and like a promotion like PWX, for example, because we mentioned them, I'll give you another plug. Good thing about PWX is they don't just run Cabarrus Civic Center.
When was the last time they run? Have they been running lately? I
thought they ran last month.
Pandemic didn't shut them down?
No. Well, yeah, I did for a while, but they ran I think they ran a show last month.
Okay, so
they. But
like I said, I don't keep up with them.
What they will do is they'll run Cabarrus Civic Center, 1 month, and then a couple of months later they'll run someplace down in Charlotte, and then 1 month they'll run in Gastonia. So they take that whole big metro area and take the show to different places.
That's actually that might be that is doing it right.
Yeah, that is a good idea.
But I mean, like I said,
I used them as an example for something bad, so I wanted to put them over too. That they do something right.
Well, we're not throwing off. I don't throw off on indie companies.
Yeah.
I don't care what they've done. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Because I'll be honest with you, I've been around long enough that there's somebody, usually within one of those companies, that I've influenced.
Yeah.
I feel like. I hope so.
Oh, yeah.
But then again, a lot of them still hate me too because I won't freaking go away.
Yeah, but I think about it, like I look on these cards, like for doing the research for Ringside Wrestling, looking at these posters, and just about every one of them say, oh, that guy went through Mid-Atlantic, that guy went through Mid-Atlantic, that guy went through Mid-Atlantic. I mean, if I'm putting up something in Missouri, no. But anything within the Carolinas, it's always a connection here. And I've always told people, there's not a lot of glitz and glamour around here, but if something...
No, we're old school.
This is where people break into the business. Yeah,
and that's what I've always wanted to be. That's another thing. I've never wanted to be this super promotion of my shows. I've never wanted to be these super shows because I want to be a place where young talent, training, we use a lot of people's trainees.
Yeah.
But I do it because I want them to learn from me. I try to teach them in here like I was taught. Because I see so many come in here that's just, they're dead behind the eyes when it comes to psychology of this business.
Yeah.
And I try to teach them, and you can ask any of them, I preach all the time about how I think things should be.
Yeah.
And any person out there, again, that wants to say, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, 30 years says different.
Yeah.
Okay? When I went to England a couple years ago in 2020, and I'll tell this story, and I know we get off on babbling, but when I went to England, you remember Louis Theroux show, the Weird Weekend show they done on the BBC on us and WCW. Well, when I went to England, I went to a wrestling show, and I noticed that everybody was looking at me funny. And I was like, well, maybe it's just because I'm that American. I'm that dude from the USA, and they just thought I was some weirdo.
Yeah.
But I went with Kevin Phoenix. He's doing a world title. Yes, we can call it a world title because it's been defeated in England and Austria, and I mean, you know what I'm saying, and Africa. But so we can call it a world title. Unlike somebody's little company say, yeah, we got a world title. We run one show a month in one town, world title. That irks me. But anyway,
our world champion's probably somewhere in Oklahoma right now.
Yeah, but I noticed everybody was looking at me funny, and so we all went out after the show, and the promoter come up to me, and he looked at me and said, "You're Rick Deezel?" I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "I just want you to know," he said, "I just want you to know that," because Kevin had went and talked to him, I guess, I don't know, but anyway, he said, "I just want you to know we didn't mean to make you feel uncomfortable." I said, "Okay, thank you." He said, "The thing about it is you and the AIWF changed wrestling in England on the independent circuit." Like, what are you talking about?
How in the world?
He said the Louis Theroux BBC documentary, I call it documentary, call it whatever you want to. He said the show that they've done on you guys, everybody over here watched it. And they still watch it over there to this day. And that was 22 years ago, 23 years ago.
Yeah.
And he said everybody over here watched that show, and you changed wrestling in England on the independent circuit with that show.
Wow.
Now, not many people can say that, but we can. And they talked about Brian Danzig, Major Havoc, Jammer, these guys that was on there. I mean, all these guys was on there. And they knew them. And the reason that they was all so standoffish with me wasn't because they didn't like me. It's because they was nervous to speak to me.
They got starstruck a little bit.
Yeah, because of Rick Deezel was in their dressing room or in their building.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It is. I mean, I'm just a good old boy from North Carolina.
Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah.
And when I go to England and people and wrestlers over there are nervous to talk to me,
yeah,
I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah, it's mind blowing.
Yeah. Anyway, ask a question. I've been talking a lot.
No. I had my question. That was, I remember. Yeah, I remember that.
They're going to break this up into like segments to show it, because I told them when they put the camera up, I said, "Well, me and Matt Carter the kids talking this."
Yeah. So what do you see as the? All right, we've made it through the pandemic. Let's talk about the future. let's see. And you were talking about working guys psychology. I need to tell a fair show story real quick. A couple of you know, for those of you who don't know, we do the fair shows at the Surrey County Fair every year, which is awesome for me because I get to come up here, do wrestling, and get to go to the fair for free. So it's just great. You know, it's a fun gig. It's like the most fun wrestling gig, right? Because you don't do one big show. You do like 2 or 3 throughout the day. So you do wrestling for a little while, go to the fair. Do wrestling for a little while, go to the fair. You know, it's great. And anyway, a couple of years ago, we had a couple of guys come up here, and we had the cage up. It was the first one I have to deal with the steel. And they get in the ring, and they're doing all these great moves and everything, but everybody's just sitting in the stands, just like, sitting on their hands. And I'm like losing my mind at ringside. I'm like, what in the world? These guys, and I was like, am I allowed to use bad language on this? Because I wanted to quote it. If you're going to get the tone ready, yeah.
Earmuffs.
So anyway, they came back through the curtain after that match, and I was like, would it kill you guys to work the fucking crowd a little bit? And one of the guys goes, well, this is our first match. I said, I can tell. I said, there's people up there watching this show that are trying to be entertained, and y'all just go in there and do a bunch of moves. I said, if you wrestle again later, do something, you know.
There's so many wrestlers. That goes back to that psychology.
Yeah, and so I guess they went in the back and talked it over. Then when they came back the second time, one guy went out, flipped off the crowd, called somebody fatso, got in the ring, the other guy came out, yeah, all right. They came out with the same 2 guys wrestling 2.5 hours apart, right, with the different mental attitude when they went in the ring. The place was going crazy. Now, granted, it's a fair show, so there's only about, 50 people in there, because, I mean, you got a fair outside,
right?
And so whatever audience you do have is in and out, in and out. But the people that were in there were going crazy, and they just absolutely loved it. So yeah, when you talk about teaching them that mental aspect of it.
But a lot of them don't know that. There's so many wrestlers I see, especially nowadays, once they get inside those ropes, they forget them people's in the stands.
Yeah.
They're so worried about, all right, let me get my spot in. What can I do? I don't want to forget anything. Let's do this flip. Oh yeah, I got to do this flip off the top. They're so worried about that, what they've got to do inside that ring, that they forget that those people are out there. And those people are why you're in that ring. And if you don't acknowledge them, and if you let them people will take you through that match. They will tell you what they want. They will tell you where to go. They will tell you who needs to do what. You just have to listen to that crowd. Yeah. They are just as much part of that damn match as you are.
I saw I don't know if you ever watch on the Peacock, Broken Skull Sessions with Stone Cold Steve Austin, where he interviews people. We talked to Becky Lynch, right, is the latest episode. And like it or not, she's one of the best women wrestlers in the world. I've seen her wrestle in person several times. There's no debating that. The girl can go. I mean, there's no doubt about it, right? And she was talking about what you were just talking about the feel of the crowd. Like, one of the things that caused her to leave, that she knew the timing was right for her to leave and go start a family, was the pandemic broke out. And when they had to wrestle in front of no crowd. And she was talking about how difficult it was because you can't feed off the energy of the crowd.
Right.
And what you were just talking about, the crowd will guide you.
They will guide you.
She said the same thing. Now you're talking about the highest paid women's wrestler in the world, maybe other than Charlotte Flair, right? Saying the exact same thing that you said. So there's your point of reference, guys. 30 years, God knows what you're talking about. So I wanted to shore that up with something, a modern example, because she's talking about the crowd guides you, and that just blew my freaking mind.
Well, I try my best to leave something with these guys when they come through this company. And a lot of them don't talk to me much because, I'll be honest with you, I'm always so busy. Mm-hmm. But I will tell guys things all the time. I don't never critique a match. I leave that to other people. I try to teach them what to do before they go out there.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I have a mindset for this. Maybe an old mind. I may not remember, the time it's used sometimes. But by God, I remember wrestling. Yeah. I was taught by the best in the damn business.
Well, I've seen it back there in that locker room. If you're back there and you start talking or telling a story, you can hear a pin drop. Everybody shuts up and listens. You know, and so that's it. Yeah, it's there. So let's talk about the future a little bit. Okay. Before the pandemic broke out, if I kind of find your niche here in Mountain area, that's where everybody likes to run. Everybody feels like it's a home base. You know, draws fairly regular. You know, pretty predictable. Do you ever see a point that the show goes? Not every week, that the show might go back on the road, like go up to Hillsville every now and then.
Not under my watch.
Yeah.
I don't think so. No. I mean, I don't know what'll happen. Like I said, I'm 59 years old. Yeah. I'll be 60 years old this year. I don't know how much longer I'll go. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's a lot of people smiled when they heard that. Mm-hmm. Old bastard may be going away. But as long as I'm able, I'll keep going because it's what the fans want. And I think I still got a lot to teach guys.
Yeah.
But I don't see it going back on the road, and I hope that someday because like I said, I own the AIWF, I started it, but now I kind of run the Mid-Atlantic, AIWF Mid-Atlantic, that's my thing, and I hope that someday somebody will want to keep the AIWF Mid-Atlantic going. Yeah. I hope that when Mac Classic is done, I don't know when that'll be, I'm hope that I I'm still around enough that I can pick who his successor is because that's my right. Yeah. And I hope that there's somebody out there that can run it the way I would like to see it run. Yeah. Because that's the thing about the AIWF. It's been around for 30 years, but we have stuff in place that it can go a lot longer. Yeah. Even after I'm gone. Yeah. And I want it to. I hope there's somebody out there that's willing to keep this thing going. Yeah. Even on the scale it is now. Yeah. I mean, I think it's perfect the way it's the way it is now. I mean, I'd like to see it grow in the Mount Airy community more, as in like, all right, one of the things was when these new people came to Veterans Park, they put the wrestling ad on the sign. Yeah. So many years they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that, yeah. It's like you could put the bingo on there, and I know it doesn't draw like the fair. I know it doesn't draw like the Fiddler's Convention, but it's here every couple of weeks. Why can't you put us on the damn side? But they put the new people. They've been so good to us. Everybody in Mount Airy, all the venues in Mount Airy always treated us so good. Yeah. The Armory, the schools. But I mean, we've been around a long time. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, so get distracted. I know, they're trying to tell us to wrap it up. Yeah, I think so. You probably, I told him, man, you get talking. Oh, we can do this again. Yeah, we can do more. And I want to. We've talked about it too. Doing some more of these type of interviews with different. I'm hoping that this will kick off a series of interviews with wrestlers from all. Yeah. Over the years of AIWF, I mean, there's some that's already showed interest from back in the 90s. Yeah, I remember when you asked me about it, before you could even get it out, I was like, JT Sledge. Yeah. And I saw there's a lot of guys, and I hate when you didn't sit here and tell more stories. Yeah. Because, God, maybe we need to do it just so that we just sit around and tell stories. Well, yeah, I mean, let's see. You want a story? All right. I can't remember whether it was War or Bradshaw, West Virginia. But we had to get the ring up there, and something was wrong with the truck and trailer that we hauled the ring on. Keep talking. And all right, something was wrong with the truck and trailer that we had the ring on. So Rick Deezel goes and rents a truck, like a Penske, like a big U-Haul, right? We load the ring on that. That's when the bus blew up. Yes. Going up the mountain. Yeah, like the transmission went out on it, didn't it? No. The motor blew because when we raised the hood, the entire hood underneath was covered in oil. It just started spewing oil everywhere. Wow. Yeah, and we had to rent a truck to get it back. And didn't we tear the transmission out of that truck coming back? Yes, because they had to bring us another truck. Yeah. And we unloaded off of one truck into another. And that was the same. That same weekend we rented the entire top floor of the hotel in Bluefield, West Virginia. Yeah. That was so cool. We rented the entire top floor of a hotel in Bluefield, West Virginia. Every room but one.
Yeah.
Remember the two girls that was in the room? We had every room. I know why you don't remember that.
Oh, I know too. There's a lot.
But anyway, we rented every room at the top floor of a hotel except one. It was already rented, and there was two girls in that room. And we filled the top floor of this hotel with wrestlers. And
there was a bar next door, or a liquor
bar next door.
And it was ABC on and off because you could take liquor out of there.
Yeah, and I remember somebody saying that we ended up buying, I paid, the guys ended up getting 27 cases of beer.
Probably.
I don't remember. I just remember that it was a crazy party, and the two girls was afraid to come out of the room because there's wrestlers running up and down. Body count, body count. It's what, 6'9", 6'10", I can't remember, 300 some pounds. Yeah. And me and him was fighting over chicken wings. Yeah. But I just remember two girls, so I'd open the door and peek out, scared to death to come out. Yeah. But
did you ever talk to him the next morning or anything?
No, I don't remember.
I remember Frank Manson tried to fight me for some reason that night.
I don't know.
He said I was being loud, but we were all being loud.
Everybody was being loud. They was running from room to room to room. And and people was passing out and getting makeup put on them.
Yeah.
Because back in them days, the women were just as crazy as the guys.
Yeah.
The wives sometimes were worse.
I think I avoided the makeup, or maybe I was a willing
I can't remember.
But
it was a long time ago.
But I remember Jumpin' Jimmy and me had been assigned the same room, right?
Yeah.
And Jumpin' Jimmy had really tied one on that night. And yeah, we all had, right? But I was in better shape.
It was a long time. Yeah, it was young, stupid. We had having fun.
I was in a little better shape than he was. And there was a girl that used to come here that Jimmy referred to as a slee stack, remember? and she had a huge crush on Jimmy. And Jimmy could not stand to look at her, right? And so somebody said, somebody's like, what you ought to do is go in there and climb in bed with Jimmy. Like that, and I was like, no. I was like, don't do that. That's going to make him really bad, And they were like, no, we should do it. So I was like, wait a minute. That's my room too. I said, if y'all are going to do this, I'm getting all my shit and getting out of here. And so I got all my stuff and took it out, and I went down to the truck or the bus or whatever, threw my bags in there, go back upstairs. And they're still debating on whether to do it. And I'm like,
now this is the wives. The wives are evil.
The wives were the one that designed this.
God bless.
And they're like, yeah, go in there and get Jimmy. And I just start rubbing on his shoulder and say, and when he wakes up, say, hey, honey, it was wonderful last night. And so she goes in there, and we're all standing in the hall. It's like, this was a jackass prank before there was a jackass.
And Jimmy's married now, so if his wife watches this, nothing happened.
And Jimmy was no fault. He was in there asleep.
Yeah.
He was not bothering anybody.
He was a victim of the wives.
Yeah. And
there have been so many of them.
And so, yeah, look. And so we're all standing in the hall. You could hear a pin drop because everybody wants to hear this. They know what's going to happen, right? And all you hear from that room, the door was propped open. And we just hear Jimmy when he woke up, and we hear, what the fuck? And so not only is Jimmy hungover, he's furious now because of this rib been pulled on him. So we have to go up to Beckley to run a show that afternoon.
That's why we got the hotel. We went from War to Beckley.
Yeah, and we go up to Beckley to run a Sunday afternoon show. I don't know what kind of building that was, but I remember they said they had sold 300 tickets or whatever, and we get there, it's like 50 people. And Jimmy, I can't remember who he was wrestling. It might have been Kevin Stryker. But he sets him on the top rope for like a superplex, and he goes up on the second turnbuckle and hooks that superplex and plants his feet and does a snap suplex off the top rope. I mean, it was the hardest suplex I've ever seen in my life. And I remember and he got up, just stomped a guy in the face, and it was vicious. Jimmy laid a beating on his opponent that day because of that. I just remember thinking, boy, I'm glad I'm not wrestling Jumpin' Jimmy today. So,
all right.
network producers wrapping us up.
Yes, they are. I'm sorry. So, hey, if you like this episode, tell Matt Carter or post it all over Facebook or social media. Want us to get back together. Maybe next week we can do another one.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully it won't take 6 months for it to show up on the Roku channel, but we'll see.
We'll see.
Yep. Anyway, so all right, for everybody for Straight Shooting, this is Matt Carter, Rick Deezel. Until next time, so long for now.
Thanks, guys.